I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today, we're going to review a very special debut album from the My Morning Jacket frontman, Jim James. The album is called Regions of Light and Sound of God. Not the other way around, as I often get it in my brain.
Oh, really?
Tom, you like Jim James. You like My Morning Jacket.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us some background?
Okay, well, obviously, you look at My Morning Jacket, the band this guy comes from. If you haven't listened to them, they started very much as kind of an early folk-inspired indie band. Before that was really popular.
Yes.
And then they actually, even still before it was really popular, kind of moved out of that with some more progressive thinking albums like Z and Evil Urges, which get a little poppier, but they still put their own spin on it. They still give it a very unique indie sound. I think Z is one of the best albums I've ever heard. Yeah.
And I mean, really just going after big songwriting with lots of stark dynamic contrast.
Yeah. So now, they've done some stuff in the, well, their most recent album, Circuital, we weren't too keen on.
A lot of people liked it.
Yeah, we also weren't too keen on Monsters of Folk, which was a project he did recently with folks from Bright Eyes and Inward. So we were kind of wondering, where is Jim James going to go? Is he going to go in a direction we like, or is he going to go in a direction we didn't like? You know, we could see it going either way. So with this album, it was a very interesting change. One thing I was very happy to hear is that it doesn't sound like any project he's done in the past.
No, it does not.
Which I hate it when artists from bands kind of go solo and end up making an album that just sounds like the band they came from.
It's like, why not?
Yeah.
You know, Tom York came out with The Eraser. Sounded way too much like Radiohead.
Yeah, it really did. It's still a great album, but it's like, you know, distance yourself a little bit. I think that Jim James did a great job of that here, and he made an album that more than anything is just very meaningful. Yes. You can tell. If you get into the story behind it, it was inspired by this like kind of like picture, isn't it like kind of like a carved out like novel called God's Man, kind of telling the story in general of like an artist struggling with his craft and trying to be pure and all that, and that's something that I can really relate to, I can really connect with, and I respect the hell out of. And you get a lot of that in the themes and ideas driving the lyrics and general mood of this album. But what really knocks it out of the park for me, the reason I really ended up liking this, is the instrumentation. He brings in a lot of cool instrumentation, some horns, some kind of cool digital beats at times.
There is a wide variety of the instrumental palette.
Yes,
it is
very much.
And really, it kind of reminded me of what Gautier did last year on Making Mirrors.
It reminded me also a little bit of Destroyer.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, just these amalgamations of all these different sounds and putting them together in these really interesting, well-written tracks that aren't afraid to get in the upper, like, 4 or 5 minute, even there's even some 6-minute track on this album. I like it when artists can show that sort of variety. Jim James plays with several different styles on this album too, and as was always true with My Morning Jacket, shows a lot of dynamic contrast, which is something that I really care about. State of the Art, the opening track. Very interesting song, how he just slowly builds and builds and builds and builds in jazz elements. I mean, he's just sprinkling styles and genres of music together to make a very unique Jim James sound. He really owned this sound. And I really felt like that was kind of a strength that is going to make me want to come back to this album all year long. I gotta say, my favorite track on this album, though, ended up being the track 7, Actress.
That was a highlight for me as well.
I just felt like it just had this emotional impact that the album was really lacking up until that point. I didn't really feel like it ever gripped me. And then once you get to that track, and then its placement is just perfect towards the tail end of the album, and then I'm just hit with this just emotional wave once you listen to that song. And it's extremely well written and paced, so.
See, it sounds like you like this album a little bit more than I did. This is almost one that I respect more than I enjoyed, because I love the ideas behind it. I enjoyed it every time I listened to it. I thought it had a great sound, a great flow, terrific ideas driving the whole experience. But it didn't have that comeback quality for me for some reason. It didn't grip me in a way that I thought I need to listen to this album at any point. That held it back for me a little bit, but it's really actually not a huge complaint.
I felt like the mood was what really made it so that I could keep coming back. The mood, this album, you know, there's points where it has a little bit brighter of a mood, but overall has kind of a very melancholic, kind of searching mood, where it corresponds to the whole subject matter of the album.
I think that searching is a good way to put it, because I think it's somewhat ambivalent. You can't really tell if the conclusion he's reached, if he's reached one, is bad or good. It's just seeking something out, and it's asking questions, and then kind of letting the listener answer those questions.
And to kind of reiterate that, you look at the last track, God's Love to Deliver, and that track is probably one of the most poignant tracks on the album.
Definitely.
And it really focuses
really has a message.
Yeah, it really has a message and focuses on Jim James, his vocals. And his vocals, if you've never listened to My Morning Jacket or half the tracks on Monsters of Folk, Jim James has a great voice, and his voice is just so iconic with that folk indie rock scene that you fall in love with it, and he uses that to his advantage here by really conveying good ideas and ending it with the punch of all the things we've been talking about with God's Love to Deliver. Tom, where are you at with this one?
I'm going to give it a 79. I really liked it.
Yep, I liked it. You're right. I am a little bit higher on it, and that's just because when I listen to this, I just want to keep coming back to it.
Awesome.
So I think I'm going to go 83 on this one.
Sweet.
Favorable. So low 80s from us. That's a stamp of approval. We like this album. So you guys should probably check out Regions of Light and Sound of God. If you're not familiar with My Morning Jacket, also listen to them as well because we love them. Let us know what's your favorite work Jim James has ever done because we feel like this is arguably one of the better works he's made. Let us know at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. And please, let us know what album from 2013 you'd love to hear us review or see us review since we do video reviews. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.